And this idea that you work before you get something, I mean, they don't understand anything different than that. And then lastly, honor as well. Some of the things from that were significant in the culture at that time, Cupid dolls, Mickey Mouse, Flash Gordon. Remember Flash Gordon was, you know, that was cutting edge back then. I think about the only thing on here right now that most people might recognize would be a box of Wheaties. I don't know how many youngsters actually use that anymore. They were also shaped, they had a set of heroes that they could relate to. The Superman, the President, and then a string of generals, Arthur, Patton, Field Marshal Montgomery, Admiral Halsey, General Eisenhower, Winston Churchill, Audie Murphy, and Joe Foss, and he was a Marine hero on Guadalcanal, fighter pilot, Babe Ruth and Joe DiMaggio. You see a lot of military influence in this. Traditionalists have assets. Most notably, they're loyal and their hard work ethic. And along with assets, as all the bankers will tell us, come liabilities. Traditionalists don't like things to be fuzzy in the gray area. They want things black and white. They're not so eager to go and buck the system. And they just as soon everybody get along. And they're reluctant to disagree. The leadership style that they're accustomed to, look at, over half of the males that were born in the traditionalist time frame served in the military. So it should come as no surprise that they're used to a military style, top-down authority type management. If you're looking to recruit, if a company is looking to recruit people out of this demographic, it sounds simple, but you need to use good grammar. Slang they don't relate to, you need to be polite, please and thank you. A firm handshake. You also if you're looking to hire traditionalists, it's very important that you let them know that they're valued, they have assets. Because a lot of folks later on in their life, they think, oh, time's passed me by, I'm no good anymore. I mean, we hear that kind of stuff all the time, people coming in our office, and that couldn't be farther from the truth. When you hire people out of the traditionalist group, you need to take some time and explain what's expected of them. And they are more concerned with how what they do contributes to the success of the company or the organization. And it's not a bad idea to have other traditionalists do those orientations. If you're going to be managing them, be careful about stereotyping them that just because they're older they don't know all this computer stuff. After all, who made the computers? Okay. Motivating them using a personal touch, face-to-face, handwritten notes, firm handshake, not a high five. And then they respond to rewards, plaques, and photos with company officials, more so, or not necessarily money. Moving to the baby boomers, they're born between 46 and 64, it's almost half the workforce. They grew up with their parents telling them you can do anything, you can be the President of the United States if you want to be. This group here is somewhat different because their career came first. They sacrificed their families, their time with their families. They became workaholics. At this time, they were still used to working in a company forever and being loyal to that company and that company being loyal to them. Some of the events that shaped them, something like polio, which had been a scourge up until this time, is finally conquered. Then you've got some huge advancements. Nuclear power comes around, birth control pills. Then you got some scary things, the Cuban Missile Crisis. People in this country are fearful of, you could be up in the middle of the country and you can actually be in danger. Then you got some nasty things that happen, Kennedy assassination, Vietnam, and then Martin Luther King, who had reawakened, made the country more sensitive to some social issues. And then you've got some other incredible achievements with the lunar landing as well. I can remember, I'm a baby boomer, and I can remember all those things happening and helping shape me. I wonder if did I turn this? No, I didn't. I did it, or you did it?
I did.
Okay. If we look at some of the cultural events at the time, the Ed Sullivan Show, and remember, this is the group that starts watching TV. Elvis comes out and shakes up the world. Fallout shelters are kind of popular at that time. TV dinners come out, that wonderful advancement. Things like the Laugh-In Show and hula hoops and peace signs and the Beatles. The heroes for the baby boomers at the time were guys like John Wayne, Martin Luther King, John Glenn, and then President Kennedy and his wife. Okay. The assets of the baby boomers, they're willing to put in the extra hours. They're pretty good at relationships, more so than an authoritative, militaristic style format, and they're good at being team players. Their liabilities, these folks aren't naturally budget-minded. You give them a task to do. Some of you are chuckling out there because you're one of them and you know that, or you've worked with them, or you're dealing with them. You give them a project, they're going to go achieve the goal, and they're not necessarily going to care how much it costs. The other thing is, they're judgmental of those who see things differently. They're going to concentrate on doing things the right way, and what they think is pretty much the right way. Okay? The leadership style, they like for everybody to have a voice, as opposed to just whatever the top person says coming down. Okay? Recruiting them, you need to show them how they can make it. They're very interested in that. After you've had a boomer that's been somewhat successful, you need to let them know that what they've done counts, because it's a big issue for them. Okay. On bringing them in, they want to solve problems, so give them the challenges to face. Don't be bashful about that. And they're more concerned with the near term. What's in it for me now? You remember this is the microwave generation when that first comes in? Okay. They need a little help in strategic planning and budgeting. It's a good idea to give them mentors. They'll relate to them. And this last line is all the self-help books. It's no surprise that all of those folks related to that. Okay? It's better to have a face-to-face conversation with them. And what I mean by that, as opposed to, we don't necessarily go into this later on, but the youngsters today, they're all texting. I mean, you've seen them sitting on a couch next to each other, and they're sitting here texting each other. Okay? The baby boomers and the traditionalists, that's goofy. We don't understand why they do that. We'd like to have the face-to-face connection. They like to have their opinions respected here for the baby boomers. Okay. And a lot of them have their self-worth wrapped up in what they do at work. And that should be no surprise since they've been workaholics. Okay. The baby boomers group is kind of split into a little bit of two groups because there were so many of them, and there's some noticeable differences when you look at the latter half of the baby boomer generation. And those are the ones born between 54 and 64. They grew up in the me generation, and they're a little bit more open to change in social, in material ways, all kinds of things. All right. Let's go past that one and that one. Okay. So you got the late baby boomers. I think I have to click through this one. Okay. He's been dubbed the first post-boomer president. So it's kind of it's a big shift from the folks that we've had in the past. As one of the younger presidents. Okay. Shows the differences in technology. Go ahead and skip through this part here. Okay, now the Generation Xers, they're born between 65 and 80. They're technologically savvy. Remember when computers and all that first came out, and if you weren't in this group, you were afraid to hit that button because you might break it, and these kids just dive right in. They're not afraid.